Hello again, this is UML Operator. All right, we have a blank project called Our Code Development Shop. We're going to start by building out a main model package. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add a namespace for modeler 1, and we're going to add a namespace for modeler 2. Next, in our main model package, we're going to build a package for UI layer. Then we're going to build a packager namespace for service layer. And then finally, we're going to build a package for our data layer. At any point, you can change the diagram type. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to change the data diagram type to a data flow diagram type. So we have our two sessions. This is UML Operator, and this is Eddy, our second modeler. And you don't have to create the layers in here. That's optional. The thing is when you do create the layers, you get the tooling really fast that you need. So this is optional. I usually do this so I can quickly get to the tooling that is going to make up the work we're doing on the one diagram, which is called main model. Otherwise, if you're in the main model, right now we have the default set to class diagram, but as you're doing or going across the various toolbars, you'd have to come in here. Hey, I'm working on user interface. Now you get the user interface. I'm working on any component elements. You have to go through all of this. In this particular case, we have everything that we need right here. We can build our elements in these namespaces. And then what you're going to see is moving the elements to the main model main space. And again, that's optional. You could leave them where they are. And we'll look at both options as we're going through. All right, so Eddy's getting ready to start their work on the data layer. He has the data layer diagram up, and maybe before he gets started, he's going to open up a chat session. And in this case, he's going to hit this hamburger here. User chats, these are the folks that he's chatted with recently. Otherwise, you would select them and load it. And Sparks will remember, I'm going to talk with UML Operator, and I'm going to type something like, I am starting work on data layer, something like that. I'm going to go ahead and hit send. Right now, as soon as I send this, and for UML Operator, this is going to refresh every once in a while. I can't remember what the timing is. You can actually set the timing on it. But if I refresh or load the model or really do anything, like if I was to start to work on data layer, it may be locked or not locked. But if I reload the project, I'm going to force it. You can see that this message pops up here at the top bar, and I can hit the down arrow. Eddy just sent a message. I can select it, and I can start chatting back. Okay, I am, I am working the service layer. All right, and then I'm going to hit send. All right, and the same thing applies over here at Eddy. Do a refresh, or it will refresh after a period of time. You can see that UML Operator responded, I'm working on the service layer. All right, so now they've opened up dialogue and collaboration with each other, and they're going to begin work. Now, when I'm working on individual diagrams, I'm going to lock them. So I'm going to go lock diagram, user lock, except for me, everyone else is locked out. And then I get the blue exclamation mark. When I go over here, go back to browser, locate in browser, and I go into data layer, I have the red exclamation mark, and the diagram is locked. I can't add elements to it or do any work in it. All right, now I'm not going to name these elements. I'm just going to take the Sparks default names, data store 1, and Eddy's going to start his work. So he's bringing a couple of data stores in here, may bring in some other elements to use, start building a data flow between the two. So it can draw a data flow in here, take it to a Bezier type line style if they want, etc. And then start filling out and populating their elements. Back over in UML Operators session, UMLO changes his mind, goes to design about the diagram type, change the type, and wants to move to a component diagram. Probably should use a deployment diagram when we're starting out, but I'm going to use a component diagram. Now I have the component tooling, And he starts to bring in some elements. Again, I'm not going to name these for this demonstration, but starts to bring in a couple of components and maybe drawing some assembly between the two, whichever direction, and they continue to do their work. As UML operator is working on their model, they want to go over to see what Eddy's doing on their model, so they'll come over here. They can reload. I would reload the content and then just reload current content. Otherwise, you might have a frozen view and not see all the elements that have been brought in. And I want to bring these elements into my model. I don't have to in this particular case, but I want to. I'm going to bring in both elements into my model. I'm putting them inside my component element that's right here, and I can hit save. Now, I was able to do this even though Eddy in this case has their model locked. They don't have even if they had the elements locked, let's go ahead and lock these elements. So we're going to lock this element right here, user lock. All right, and I'm going to come back over here and let me delete these, do this again for you. So you can see that this element is locked. I want to bring this element locked or otherwise into my element. There we go. I don't have any problems doing it. This one's not locked. I'm going to bring this one in. And now I have both of these within my model that another model is working. Now, when I go to this one and open it up, it's locked. I can't add any content to it at this particular time. Now, this one is not locked, and I'm able to actually type in and submit to the Spark SQL database any intelligence that I want to contribute to the elements that are being built out within the data layer model. Let's go back up to UML operator session, see what's going on here. There's an asterisk, means it hasn't been saved. We're going to go ahead and save this. And so the service layer model is now saved. The diagram is still locked. The elements are not locked. And what we're going to do is minimize data layer. We're going to go to the main model. And what UML operator is going to do is say, hey, I want to bring this up to the main model. And I'm going to copy those. I'm going to hit Shift, Insert, and put those elements as they've been done into the main model. Now, the namespaces are showing up for the components. They don't show up for the data flow elements, all right? But I don't like to have the namespaces showing up, so I'm going to double click in here, open up the diagram properties, and I am going to disable fully scoped object names. So I'm going to hit OK. Now they're gone, and this is nice and clean. So let's go back over to Eddy's session. We see Eddy doing some work here. Eddy can come in here, add some processes in here if they wish. We'll put a process element here, and we'll put a process element over here like that into the model. And let's go ahead and save this. Now Eddy wants to see what's going on in the main model, make some contributions, and sees that UMLO has already added some of his elements to his particular model in the one main model diagram. So, but Eddy wants to add the flows that he just put in. So he's going to bring in the flow element into this. It's not locked, so he's able to do that. He's going to bring the other flow element in to this, and there you go. You've got the two flows. Eddy's going to size these like this or like that, something like that. Maybe put them down below, but move them any way they want to do these. I want these both the same size. I'm going to select the one I want to copy, same height and width, move it down here. I'm going to straighten this up a little bit, do something like this, all right? So now Eddy's going to save. Now notice that because changes are being made, the main model while Eddy is working in it is locked. If we go up here and we look at the main model for UML operator, it has the red exclamation mark. Can't do any work on this one. It has been changed. So what Eddy's going to do over in this case is just going to hit save to submit it to the database, and now it's been saved. UMLO instantly is going, oh, something was just done. This has been refreshed. I need to reload. Selects reload. Yes, go ahead and do that. And you can see the contributions made to the one diagram. Back over into Eddy session. Eddy's done for the day, or maybe it's a lunch break. Comes up here, goes to lock diagram, unlocks it, no locks. Going to select that. However, this element is still locked, needs to make sure that's unlocked. Going to go to locks, just right click on it, go to locks, no locks, and we're all done there, all right? So then can come back over here to chat, and then to UML operator, can say I'm just going to say I am done for the day on something like that. Hit submit, and then in a moment, you're going to see a refresh, a message pop up for UMLO, or it just went over to it and refreshes it automatically and say, hey, I'm done for the day. You know, and maybe there's a response back. Okay, good night, whatever, right? Back over here, refresh, there you go. They're collaborating in real time. Now, one tip that architects, modelers, engineers can use is I created these two spaces that are specifically for these modelers. So modeler one is UMLO. They're working on the service layer. They can drag this package down into their model. They can come up here and they can package control. They can lock the entire package. So they're going to lock the entire package. And now everything is locked, right? So with the modeler 2, when they come into here and they do a refresh or reload of the project, they're going to see that service layer is no longer there. You'll notice the red explanation mark in there that this is locked and everything inside of it is locked while they're working it. But the advantage of having it in my space is that let's say I'm working on the UI layer as modeler 1. I can bring this one in here, and I can also lock this model from other people using it. So I'm going to lock the entire package, and therefore everything is going to be locked within that package. So this gives me the ability to control packages. This works fine on smaller work efforts. On larger enterprise where you've got more than 2, more than 6 modelers working on an enterprise architecture, you may not want to do this, but these private areas allow you to have faster control over the packages, the elements, and so on that you're working on. Another thing modelers can do, so I'm in modeler 1 space right here, and I'm working on the service layer. I can take the components that I'm working on, and I can move them. I'm going to select all 3 of these. I can move them to any namespace. In this case, we're going to put them under the main diagram namespace. Now these components are here, and nothing has changed within this. However, if I double click within this, I go to diagrams, I turn off disable fully namespace, you can see that the namespace doesn't show. Why? That's because these elements are in this namespace. If they were outside of this namespace, like if I moved component 3 back down into service layer, you would see that the namespace is showing up for the elements. So now you know these components are being worked in the main diagram namespace, and this component is down in a service layer namespace. Now, this is just showing you an example. I certainly wouldn't do this. The package or namespace might be called something like, or UMLO. So I hit function key 2, UMLO might do something like that. And then when I come up here and I do reload the diagram, you can see now this component is in a particular namespace. In this case, it's UMLO's or whatever modeler 1's namespace and being worked back up to the single diagram. So lots of different ways to approach work being on a particular single diagram, block diagram, component diagram, any diagram that you can do. Now UMLO is done for the day, has 3 components that are locked, wants to make sure that they unlock these when they're done in case anybody wants to do anything. So I'm going to select all of them. I'm going to hit lock elements and then no lock. And now these aren't locked. I'm going to go ahead and refresh this particular package. So content down here, reload current package. And then I see, oh, someone has added their elements to this model as well. So you're all working together, building a model, protecting each other's model integrity and intelligence. And then when you're ready to start sharing or collaborating, now because these are unlocked, I can come in and start typing in intelligence, adding my contribution to the elements across any other modeler, and vice versa. It's recommended that each modeler do a baseline. So here's modeler 2. They have data layer within their namespace, so they can do a baseline at any package level. So right here, modeler 2, Eddy in this case, Control-Alt-B is going to bring up baseline, is going to create a new baseline for the work they've done today. They're going to start at 0, 1. They could put some more information in there if they wanted to. And now they have a baseline for modeler 2. You can see this for this particular package, right? And any modeler can baseline the entire project. Control-Alt-B, create a new baseline for the entire project. This is going to be 0, 1 as well. Maybe you want to say initial, or Eddy's going to want to come in here and say, well, who did this baseline? You can put in a name, a UUID, user ID, whatever you want to do. And now the entire project that all the modelers are working on is now baseline, all right? I usually will make a baseline at the beginning of the day. I'll make a baseline at the end of the day, or if I'm making any significant model changes. So in this particular case, Eddy wants to move their elements up to contribute to the main namespace, diagram namespace, all right? And that's main model. So they move their models up here. Now they're inside the main model. And now this is what we look like at this particular juncture, right? So then what Eddy's going to want to do is come down here, run another baseline. Let's say it's the end of the day. They want to do another baseline new. This is 0, 2, 2. There we go. They're doing a baseline. I want to see differences between where I currently am and to this other baseline, show differences. They can go into that and they can see that things have changed. These things are changed. They've moved to another namespace. All right, so they moved from data layer to main model. You can see because the highlighted change. So they're able to see the changes as they take place, date and time, for their particular model. And UML operator, modeler 1, would do the exact same thing. Now we come up here. If we go to the main project, we hit Control-Alt and B. I want to show differences, what's taking place from this particular point to the last baseline. And you can see here in the main model, we have some changes. These items were added. They originally were in the data layer, and now they're in the main model. So you're able to show differences, create new baselines, and keep up with your work as you're going forward. Okay, that concludes this session. Very quick, simple demonstration of how two modelers, and whether it's 2 or whether it's 20, I've worked over 80 modelers at the same time. Doesn't matter, same practices, same processes, all work together as long as everyone's following the same practices and respectful of other modelers' areas, diagrams, and elements. This all works. Please leave comments down below, good or bad, ask questions. If you haven't already subscribed, do so. Also turn on notifications so you're aware of our videos when we post them. And until the next session, happy modeling.